You are very welcome to the Inspired Family Leader Program with Samuel A. Bakutana, your host, a certified executive coach, an award-winning leadership consultant, a global speaker and author, the CEO of Inspired Leaders International, and your provincial Fathers Union president. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are watching us from around the world. The Inspired Family Leader Program exists to challenge, to equip, and to empower men to expand their family leadership capacity for national transformation. And you cannot do that unless you have become a man of discipline. And today we are focusing on exactly just that. Becoming a man of discipline. Never listen to somebody who has not done something to give you advice on how to do it. Today in the studio with me is somebody who exemplifies what we are going to be talking about, a life of discipline. We are having our papa, we are having our leader, the former Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, Bishop Henry Luke Orombi, here with us in studio to talk about becoming a man of discipline. Papa, you're very welcome.
Thank you, sir.
What a joy to have you here today on this program.
I'm just glad to work with you.
I've been looking forward to this opportunity so that you can speak to the men of Uganda and the whole world to also start to think about issues of living a life of discipline, because that is something that you have exemplified over quite a long period of time, honestly speaking. And you know, there is a way people take on, I should call them labels, I should call them reputation. You mention a name and people say something. You mention another name and people mention something different.
Absolutely.
You mention another name, they still say something different. I have often done this in trainings, and I say, just say one word when I say a name. And I say Martin Luther King. And somebody says revolution or whatever, civil rights. You say Nelson Mandela, you say freedom. You say Mahatma Gandhi, they say peaceful coexistence. When you say Bishop Henry Luke Orombi, one of the things that people will say is discipline. And that's why I am extremely excited to have you on the program today.
Thank you, Sam.
I would like you to kindly look into the camera and introduce yourself to the viewers, especially those that may not have interacted with you before. As far as
viewers, I greet you and I want to say thank you for tuning into Family Life TV. My name already you've heard. I'm based in this particular ministry right now where Sam and colleagues have found me. It's called Vision for Africa, founded almost 25 or so years ago by an Austrian lady whose heart has been so pulled by Ugandan children's needs. She came looking for orphans, for vulnerable children, for people who cannot make it in terms of raising their kids, and she has educated almost 16,000 Ugandan children in 25 years. So I am a partner with them, together with my wife and our ministry called Jesus Christ is Lord. I'm retired. I've been retired for almost 12 years now, and I still minister according to the pace I set for myself. But I'm so happy that you have tuned in to listen to us. And again, thank you, Sam, for coming to interface with me.
It's my pleasure to be here, really. And thank you very much for creating the time to do this.
You're welcome.
So, the rubber hits the road. When we say discipline, what really are we talking about? What's discipline to you?
Well, when you are talking about discipline, you are talking about character.
Character.
And character is developed over a period of time. I would imagine that for somebody like me, it started when I was still young, when I can easily be trained. And then once I got the gist of wanting to be a person who is disciplined, I kept on that road because it is very, very healthy.
When was that?
I would imagine that my own father was a very disciplined person. First of all, go to school and you must keep time. Come home, these are your chores, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you need to do them. This is time for going to bed, you must do it. And so that has been a routine I grew up in, and therefore my father was so hard as far as I think I remember, because he made sure that what he instilled in me was kept. Fast forward, I go to college. I was trained by an Irish principal, and he again was a very disciplined person. Time for particular things must be kept. You go to your dorm, switch off the light. He keeps on telling us that when you are letting your light be there without using it, you're wasting money.
Indeed you are.
Then I began to understand the value of doing those things, and then put on your uniform. And then you have to be in your uniform. Those kind of things. Then when you go to class, you know exactly your desk.
Yes.
You know who your desk mate is. Then you work hard because your results will come, and it must come. So those trainings seeped into me and then gave me the opportunity to develop a character of being a man who will keep time, a man who will keep his words, a man who will want, when he is training or leading people, would like to see what he's telling people is getting to them. Those are areas which are very important.
Yes. That's very interesting. And talking about that principle, talking about your father and the way you used the word hard, they were quite hard on you.
Yeah.
But then nowadays, when a parent behaves that way towards his or her own children, they will start to call it child abuse.
Exactly.
They will start to say that you are not a good parent. And in some places, even if the child has the right to take you to prison, that you're not treating them well. Are we safe?
Are we safe? That's a good question. What do they want to produce in a child? If you go to a military training, they're going to train you in the way that they can make a good soldier out of you. If you're not strong enough, you may even die in the process.
That's true.
But if you can manage going through that training and they instill a sense of discipline in you, it's very necessary for your own survival. Because once you learn these things and you're able to execute them well, then you're going to succeed as a good soldier. Now, life is a war. We are always fighting a war. Diseases, bad company, all kinds of stuff. And if you're not strong, you become a victim.
You become a victim.
So when you are training our children, we are not training them because it is our own pleasure to do that. We are training them for their future. Now tomorrow, for these children who are now, may even be fiercer than what we have today. So if we don't train people, that's military. What about games? What about football? If you don't train properly and you go by the rule, you can never be a good player.
You can't.
Life is like that. If the children do not want to go according to the rule of life which you have already understood, some of the law which may enforce these things on our children never even understand our children. We know our children from the beginning. We know what they like. We know how they feel. Now, if you're bringing a law which blankets training, you are going to cause a very terrible future tomorrow.
Because the children are different.
Of course. And I mean, I have 4 children, for example.
Yes.
I cannot use one tactics to lead them and to train them because they're different. They respond differently to a shout. They respond differently if perhaps I speak softly.
Yes.
So I know my children. Give me room to train them. If I am training them well, why should you stop me?
Why should you stop me? That's a very powerful question. And I believe that the parents, not only in this country, but all over the world, need to stand up and say we cannot continue to talk about children's rights without parents' rights.
So listen here, tomorrow they'll quote parents more than the law. Because that's where they came from. I just want to agree that where children have not come from homes, the story is different. But there is also going to be a substitute. But if a child is growing from a home, definitely his references, my mom said this, my dad said this, my mom did this, my dad this, because the training ground begins from home. Then once they are trained properly at home, let them go out there, they can face anything.
Because home is the foundation of school.
Absolutely. That's the best school. And by the way, mother is teacher number 1. And that comes in when mother has played a lot of role.
That's true.
But they complement each other. In the training of a child, bringing up a child, definitely under normal context, should be 2 people together.
Definitely.
Because what a mother puts in a child is totally different to what a father puts in a child. Put it together, you have a balance.
And maybe that's why we have to keep sharing that when you hear a single lady say, I have my money, I can look after my
Absolutely.
children, let him go. They are saying that because they are assuming that what a child needs is simply the presence, not the presence of the man in their life.
Well, you see, when it's a single mother, it is a circumstance, I believe, that they can't help.
Sometimes.
It's difficult. It's difficult. There comes a time for a boy who needs a voice of a father.
Yes.
Now, a mother can take him to a degree at some point. But then when a boy begins to rebel, it's very hard for the mother.
It is.
You need a male figure. There is also in a family where the title of dad is important. So if there is no dad, any male person coming into the house is called uncle, not dad. Now those are two things.
Different.
So I want to say to single parents, you are very heroic because that is not a simple task at all.
Not.
So when God designs us in pairs, definitely my hands can work well together. Yeah. My feet can work well together. My eyes can work well together. Men and women can work well together, especially in upbringing. It's not the money they need. Yeah. There comes a time when they don't need the money, they don't need the electronics, they don't need the gadgets. They need a mother's hug. They need a father's strength. Now those are necessary.
Mother's hug, father's strength. Sounds like a mother therefore nurtures and a father trains. So why is...
No, both of them train.
Both of them train. So why is discipline really, really important, especially in a man's life?
Oh, that's a very big question. But let me just start by saying this. If a man cannot keep his word, then people don't trust him. If a man says, I'm coming at 8 and he comes at 2 in the afternoon, people don't keep time. But if a man says, our meeting begins at 10 and by 9:30 he's already there, no one is going to be late. Let me give you an example. I was living in the palace, in the Archbishop's palace in Amirembe, and I would throw dinners for my friends to come, for my members to come. And I say, our dinner is at 7 o'clock. Now, the first few dinners were missed by many people. Because for them, 7 o'clock is 9 o'clock, and most times they would meet people going back.
When for them they are
they are just coming in, they just come at their own leisure. Then they would get the next invitation, dinner at the Archbishop's Palace at 7. My friend, people kept their time. Because they know he's consistent.
So you trained them how to treat you.
Of course, treat my invitation seriously, otherwise you miss me. And then if you miss the Archbishop's dinner, what have you missed? You miss the people who are supposed to come, you miss the time together, you miss all these things. So if you keep your word, people take you seriously. If you don't keep your word, people don't care.
And that's critical for a man.
Oh, it's very important. Then of course, when you make a promise, and you can't keep your promise, they will say, but that is how he is, he says this, but he doesn't do it. Now that erodes what you are, and it erodes your estimate in the eyes of people.
True.
Oh yes, it does. It does. So when you're a man, be a man. Be a man in all ways that you can control and you can manage, so that your words can carry weight, your presence can carry weight, and your actions can influence people.
And your word can actually be trusted.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I said it should carry weight.
Oh, yes. That has reminded me of something. One time we were having a training as Inspired Leaders International at Imperial Royal Hotel in the city of Kampala. And at lunchtime, we were seated in the dining having lunch. There was a TV on, the screen was on, and then somebody came on the screen talking, addressing people. There was a gentleman seated next to us who was in the same training. He looked at the screen, saw the man, and he said, there is nothing that man can say, and I listened. I know him. Then he did like this and faced on the side. So when you talked about that, it has reminded me of that moment.
And he's not even listening to the comment, by the way.
Oh, yes.
But he has picked you over a period of time, and he understands how to size you up. It's very sad that very important people are undersized by who they are.
Not what they...
Their words, their action, their behavior
Yes.
makes them, in the eyes of onlookers, nothing. And then they're very important.
Of course.
Or supposed to be important.
Or take themselves to be important.
Or take themselves to be important. But then, you know, human nature is amazing. They'll pretend in your presence and give you the worth of what you are. But in your absence, you're written off in their mind. So don't take him seriously. Don't even take what he said seriously. Now, that is the value of being disciplined in the way you communicate, walking the talk that you give to people, and living truly in private and in the public without contradiction.
Some people think as long as they put up a show in public, what they do in private is none of our business, is none of our issues. As long as they come to the public and look nice and say the right words, articulate them the right way.
Unless your life is a performance, or a comedian's life, or a magician's life, or somebody who is going there to impress people. But you see, most people who live that double life, their lifespan is very short.
Really?
You get tired.
Is that a spiritual principle? Is that
I'm
a
not talking
biological
about
fact?
spiritual principle, but I'm talking about reality. Great guys in the public, in the platform there. Great people who try to impress people. If you track them up to where they are,
Yes.
and you find most lives are very messed up. And then, of course, sooner or later, people will find out who you are anyway.
Oh, yeah.
In this life of technology, where can you hide?
You
Very
can't.
difficult to hide. Perhaps we used to hide long ago, but now today, they can track you for who you are. So if your character is not compromised, wherever you are, whether you're in the public or you're in the private place, most people, by the way, like to come home and see my home. Because my home is an identity. And they want to come home and see my home. Now, if they find at home I'm a brute, out there in the pulpit I'm a very nice
The darling of everybody.
Oh, my dear friend, that's going to be a very short-lived life. I love the way our Lord Jesus Christ demonstrated his life to people, and his life was what I'm talking about, private or public,
Consistent.
no contradiction. How about that?
That's quite amazing. And if we all could think about that, especially as men, since this program focuses much more on men, if we could focus on the consistency between our private life and public life, I think we would have greater impact on the things that we do, on the people that we lead, on the communities we live in.
There is something else you don't need to forget. The head of a family has got people who watch him.
Yes.
Now, what these people who watch him will get from him will be multiplied many, many times. The head of the family has an office. And in that office, you have people surrounding you, and they watch you. What do they want to take? What do you want them to take from you? If they take something positive from you, that's going to be multiplied. Because the impact I have for people starts from my home, and then goes to my place of work, and then goes to wherever I am going. Because you know, there are people, when they walk in the audience or they walk in the public, they have a presence. And don't ask me to explain it, but they have a presence. They'll say, so-and-so is arrived. Now, what you carry around you has a lot to do with what is inside you there.
That's a quotable quote.
Quote it.
What you carry around you is dependent on what you have inside you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the secret of skyscrapers. It's not what we see, the walls and the roof, but the invisible foundation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not only the height, but also the lifespan.
Yes. And that leads me curiously to ask, can you look at a man and identify that this is a man of discipline? How can you identify a man of discipline?
Give him 30 minutes. He walks in, look at his dress code.
Dress code number one.
And then he sits down there, whichever table is given, look at his relationship with the people around the table. You're going to spot out something unique there. And then how does he conduct conversation or not conduct conversation? There is something that I like the way Jesus put it. We are the light. Because the light will reveal who you are. And then the light will also reveal your surroundings.
Oh, yes.
You are the light. And so he said, let your light shine before men that they may see the good works and give glory to God. Now, when we are in a place where our lives can be very well done, it's going to be the way you behave, the way you relate with people, the way you speak to people, the way you carry yourself in a place. For example, if a man is a humble man,
Yes.
you don't have to go with a magnifying glass to find that out. You'll see it. Similarly, if a man is a very disciplined man, you'll see the way they act, the way they're drinking their water, they're drinking their tea, they're eating their food, they're talking to people. You just see it. It just shows. It's how they do things, or how they talk, and how they relate. It's easy.
How they carry themselves.
Absolutely.
How
So
they fulfill their
there
promises.
is so much that people should not forget. Gentlemen, don't forget the fact that you impact people for better or for worse by who you are, let alone by what you say.
Yeah. Wow. Talking about that impact, in a sense, what would you say is the impact of a man's indiscipline, specifically this time indiscipline? What would you say is the impact of a man's indiscipline on the people around him?
Number one is chaos.
Chaos, disorder.
Number two is conflict. Number three is stress. If the man is in discipline, you don't want to have him around. You don't even want to work for him or even with him. Because he's going to, okay, let me take you to the streets of our city of Kampala. Our traffic jam is not necessarily because of the number of vehicles or motorcycles we have. Our traffic jam is because of people who do not pay respect to each other. I want to be the first person. And how are you going to be the first person? The courtesy is very small. How often will somebody wave to you because you have given them way to pass? You hardly see that. Now, everybody wants to go. Now the route is very small. But supposing we give space for each other, we can flow. We may be slow,
Yes.
but we shall not be stuck.
We may be slow, but we shall not be stuck.
No.
And honestly, sometimes you see people on our roads and you can't believe what you see.
Yeah.
You see people who are stopping each other.
Yeah.
So all of them are stuck in one
They
place.
can't go.
They are not moving.
Now that is
They are looking at each other,
discipline.
waiting for one of them
Yeah.
to pave way for the rest.
Exactly. Now that one, I would believe, can also happen if I am a man in my family. If I'm indisciplined in the way I handle my family, first of all, will be very discouraged. Now, when people are discouraged, they can pick sicknesses very easily.
Their immunity is low, biologically speaking.
Absolutely, you're speaking the truth. And so my indiscipline will help people who are trying to learn the same thing because they think that's the order of time, that's the order of the day. My dad is like this, my father behaves like this, so I'm going to copy him. Now, then that has a multiplying effect because your kids are going to go and affect other kids who are going to affect other kids. Now, that's why some of the problems our children get in schools is because if they come from homes which are indisciplined, they affect other of the kids as well. So it has also an effect. But if we are coming with discipline and our kids are disciplined, yes, they may be ruined in one or another because of the flood of negative things happening. But if more people are disciplined, honestly, you're going to find your society is going to be calmer as opposed to being riotous, as opposed to being conflict. So indiscipline is a negative force in the community.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's why, even as parents, we need to stop telling teachers, deal with my son, he's indisciplined. But where has this child gotten this indiscipline from?
The teacher also has a problem at home. You are now carrying your trouble on him. How much can he carry?
And for you, you have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 children at home.
Yes,
you failed to deal with them. You are telling a teacher who has 80 of them in a classroom.
How is he going to manage just one ordinary person? He cannot manage. If it comes to education, let's have a double education between parents and the teachers. In the past, when we grew up, Every adult is a teacher. Every
Yes.
adult will discipline you. Every adult will guide you. Now that has dwindled a little bit, except perhaps in some rural areas, not
Yes.
even all rural areas.
Of course.
Now it is you, parents, to help your kids. But if you try to help our kids, and please let's do that, Daddy. You're the head of disciplinary committee in the family. Please help your children in order that the teachers can only complement
Yes.
what you are doing. Basically, it's yours.
They do not substitute the parent.
No,
the
they
teachers
can't.
do not substitute
No,
for
they
the
can't.
parents.
There are many.
Yeah.
Even if they want to, they can't. So we need to have our role to help the teachers do their work.
Wow. So when you look at men, especially in church leadership today, since you've had decades and decades of your work largely in the church environment, when you look at the men, and men I'm talking about males this time, when you look at the men in church leadership, what's your observation about their current state of discipline?
Current state of discipline?
When you look around and you see men in church leadership, generally speaking, what's the state of their discipline?
Oh, that is going to be difficult to blanket. That can only work on individual basis.
Yes.
Let me start by saying some are very good. Some are very disciplined. They are disciplined in their order, in the way they handle services.
Yes.
They are disciplined in the way they handle their Christians. They are disciplined in the way they handle their families. But we are having a very indisciplined atmosphere today. Men of God are in the same atmosphere. So the struggles we have is harder now. Because some of our Christians will never listen to anything. They're coming from backgrounds which are very difficult, and they're coming to your church, and if you have 10 of them, if you have 20 of them, it's a very big task. One time they will influence you in one way or another.
And if all of them even come to the
Well,
council,
without even knowing what to do, you're going to be blowing out hot air for no apparent reason, for which, of course, we'll ask for repentance. But basically, we are dealing with a people that are really struggling. In one way or another, the atmosphere we are working in today is very, very hard. So am I saying all of them are very disciplined or all of them are indisciplined? I'm not saying that. I am saying that I can pick particular people and I can say they really are disciplined. I can also pick particular people and I can say they are failing because of indiscipline.
yes,
So that's what I would describe the church leadership at the moment.
I would like to seek your indulgence to push a little bit more on this using figures. Again, these are estimates. If you look at those who are disciplined, the disciplined men in church leadership and the indisciplined men in church leadership, generally speaking, what would you say is the ratio?
That one is very rhetorical.
Indeed.
That one you really cannot. We are trained to be disciplined. But not every child in the classroom will pass exams and move to the next unless they cheat. Because we all learn at different paces. We are all created with different gifts and potentials. I can only say this to you on fairness. It is harder to pastor the present day generation than before. And the reason is this. We have a generation that are liberally gifted with knowledge.
Yes.
Much more than even the leader.
Indeed.
And how you conduct yourself to be relevant to them is harder now than before. You make a statement, they're Googling it. They're trying to check out whether what you're making is true.
While you are in the pulpit,
they are on their phone, their little phones are there with them, or tablet, or iPad, or whatever. So that is what makes it very difficult for us. All I can say is this. Every leader who is in the church, pursue godliness. Because if you pursue godliness and love and faith, then you're going to have the higher power helping you how to walk in a very disciplined manner of life. But otherwise, statistically, it's very difficult because you cannot even tell me, can you tell me the spirituality of leaders today? I even can't tell you those are not measurable. They're difficult.
Yes.
You better ask their congregations to tell you these things. But for me, as myself, I have been a leader and I try to live before my own people a life without question, a flawless life as much as I can, a transparent life as much as I can. And they look to me and they judge me according to what they experience of me.
Yeah. What I'm hearing is that for you as a person, you decided, I'm going to live this kind of life.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to live my life this kind of way.
Oh, yes.
These are the values that are going to lead my life.
Correct.
And you're saying, to the best of my ability, I will do an attempt. I will make an attempt.
And I'm still trying.
And you're still
up
on
to
the
today,
journey.
as a retired guy, I'm still trying.
So in essence, every man should make that decision and say, this is the kind of life I'm going to live. These are the values I'm going to live by, and I am going to make an attempt.
All right, now, Sam, let me give you some kind of explanation.
Yes.
If you don't order your life in terms of time, you'll be double booking, you'll be saying, let me pray about it, you'll be saying, I'll come, and you never make it. So the first thing you do is organize your time, because it's only 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
None of us is given less or more. 24 hours a day. Now I have a working time of maybe 5 days in a week. I have a Saturday, I want to do something else. I have a Sunday to spend in church. Most people do not carry diaries. Most people don't carry appointments, even in your phone, because the phone gives you a provision to give yourself time. But you told me you're going to come and we shall do some things at 11,
yes.
but you're here by 10:30.
Yes, I was.
And I was complaining because I have 30 minutes to do my work here.
Yes, yes.
But then you said, now we need to prepare.
Yeah, set up the place.
We even started before 11 o'clock. That means you're organized. So the first thing I want to see leaders everywhere, organize yourself if you can, especially if you're a top person. And you're not going to be having people confusing you. If you don't organize yourself, people will organize you, and you don't like the result. And they do it, they're very good at that. If you don't have your plan, they provide you one.
So if you don't organize, you will agonize.
Now that is another way of looking at that, because they'll be hard on you.
Oh, yes.
So like I carry a 2-yearly diary. I'm building my 2025 diary already, because it is also there.
Yes.
There are certain things which carry every year. So I move that and I fix them for next year. I make sure now we are in February. If you really want me in October, you better ask me now, because if you ask me in April, March is my leave, so don't disturb me. If you ask me in April, October may be full by that time. So I try to make sure I can explain to somebody, please, I would like to see you on the 11th of October.
Yes.
I can say, no, 11th of October is my birthday, so I'm out of it.
11th of October is your birthday.
2 days after Uganda's birthday.
Wow.
It's good to say to people, this date I am already doing this date they will respect you. But if you are not organized, you say, okay, let me pray about it. They're not going to pray. They're going to confuse, another person will come, especially if you're gifted.
Yes.
People need your time, and you don't have the time.
Indeed. I remember some time ago when I came and had a conversation with you, and we were talking about even being hosted on some program which used to be somewhere in the evening, and you shared with me that beyond a certain time of the day, you have to be inside in the home. You don't allow to be outside your home.
And I was honest.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I was honest, because that's what I do. In the evenings, I have a parish, and the parish is called home.
It's your home.
Any other time I can give you my time, but you see, the thing about life is that you can be responsible for certain things, and it is you who deals with it, and that is home.
You don't delegate.
You don't want your wife to become a widow when you're still alive. You don't want your children to become orphans when you're still alive.
Yes.
And then nobody else, while you're alive, can substitute your role for your wife. Not even for your children.
Yeah.
So you better be doing what you're supposed to do, which is primarily yours. Because nobody else is going to do it for you. If you give it to the wrong person, you get wrong results, you are disappointed.
You are disappointed.
So a home is one thing that we need to take seriously. As the head of the home. Let me look at this country, Uganda. I've never had the president say, I'm taking a holiday or I'm taking a leave in a year. All the years there's been a president. His passion is to make his presence available. Because his presence means a lot.
Yes.
And so a man in his home is indispensable unless death takes you. Because if you are wedding your wife, what you're saying, until death do us part. So if you're going to do other things outside and it's going to take your time, please compensate for the time you have taken out. Yeah. Because some people, you can't help it. You have to work at very odd times. But then compensate for your family the time they have lost. If you can, it will help reconcile a lot of things.
I hear you.
You hear me?
I hear you. I hear you, Papa.
Yeah.
And you have already started now sharing those practical actions that a man can actually take. For example, you've talked about organizing my time. I need to organize my time as a man.
Yeah.
You've talked about something to do with prioritization.
Yeah.
I need to know that certain time of the day belongs to my family.
Yeah.
And to ensure that if I use that time for something else because I couldn't help it circumstantially once in a while, I need to find a way to compensate. Would you
it will help.
Yes, it will. So would you like to go ahead in that spirit and share more practical actions that a man can take to develop a life of discipline?
Let me give you the rhythm of my family. My wife and I have agreed we have a specific time for breakfast as a family. We have a specific time for lunch as a family. Would
you mind
saying 8:30 is breakfast.
8:30 is breakfast.
And mommy and my wife and I, we need our breakfast on the table at 8:30. And in my family, because it is consistently done
daily.
Faithfully too. Because there is a clock in the kitchen and everybody must tell time. If it comes at 8:35, there must be explanation. They're not hard, but there must be explanation. Why? Because everything is there, firewood is there, charcoal is there, the fire is there. What happened? And we'll explain to you what happened. 1 o'clock exactly is lunch hour. 5 o'clock is evening tea. 8 o'clock is supper. 9 o'clock is family worship. Everybody comes in. When we worship together, then they're free to go to their rooms. They're free to do what else they would like to do. Now that is very good. Good in the sense that if you want to eat with me, just come that time. You're going to find food to eat with me.
Oh yes.
Again, it is good because it gives space for people who are doing the work, preparing the things, to give them time to also clear up. In a week, when I'm in my home, on Friday is a time my wife and I will spend in the day of prayer from 10 o'clock to 5 in the afternoon. We'll be in our home, we'll pray, and everybody knows they're praying, they respect it. 9:30 is a family half-night prayer time.
Friday.
Everybody,
Every Friday.
Friday is a very prayerful day. Friday is a very prayerful day in my home. Now, everybody knows that they're going to participate either in reading the lesson or in leading worship or in leading prayer or in speaking. We train people to speak. We don't critique you for anything. We give you opportunity to speak. Try it. And the more you try it, the better you are because you're being helped.
You train people to speak.
Tomorrow is Thursday, Friday, even while we are here. They've already asked, what text are we using on Friday? We have supplied them with the text, and they're doing it in my home, in our absence, which means people have been trained. That is a week's commitment. Now, a year's commitment is at least once a month in a year, we take a leave.
Okay.
Anniversaries.
Duration of the leave, generally speaking?
1 hour. No, 1 month. From 1st March to 31st March.
Okay.
That is our leave.
A month of vacation that is annual as part of your rhythm.
Anniversaries. Now, our own anniversary with my wife of marriage is treated with a lot of honesty. And we then make sure we go out of our home for 2 or 3 nights.
Which day is
I
your
call
anniversary?
it 3rd of June, by the way. This is the year when we do
Uganda matters.
And when I was Archbishop, I would go to Uganda Matters on the 3rd, but we compensate.
Okay.
It will be another day.
Yes.
As long as it's the anniversary, it may not be the 3rd of June if there are other things to do.
Yes.
But in a year, it has to be done. Now we treat that with a lot of higher treatment, because now we have been married 52 years.
52 years in marriage.
Yes, and that,
52 years in marriage.
More than half a century.
Oh, my.
And we are saying to ourselves, every going out during our anniversary is a honeymoon. A special time to be together to review the year. Now, when you're going for your first honeymoon, you are two ignorant people trying to discover each other. Now, but we have discovered a lot about ourselves, but we also need to review what has happened from the year we've last met here and what is going on. And for gentlemen, let me tell you, women treasure anniversaries. We don't treat it seriously, but
we even forget the date. Do you remember the date? Your anniversary date. Do you remember it as a man?
The question.
No, talk to your neighbor right now. Tell him or her. What is your wedding anniversary date? No, talk. What's your? These are serious things.
No,
you find that it's quite common with us men.
Yeah.
You don't remember the full names of your children. You don't remember their birthdays. You don't remember your wedding anniversary. You don't remember your wife's birthday. You don't know your children's teacher at school. Oh, have mercy on us, Lord.
Lord have mercy indeed, because it's very seriously taken by the people involved.
Yes.
The children want to remember that you remember their birthday. The wife also wants to remember that you remember when you got married. Now, these are taken seriously. So you need to, it may not matter much to you as a man. It better matter, because you are heading people. And that's part of your disciplinary fruit to the family.
Okay.
That's how we order our lives.
So you have
the good thing about
program,
it is,
the annual
commitment. Yeah.
Then the anniversary.
Yes, they're very important. The good thing is that when people know that is how you act, they respect it.
Wow.
Yeah. On our day off, which is a Friday, people will not come because they say they are praying. They know it.
Yes.
They are not going to come. And they can even warn other people, don't try them on Friday, they are praying. Now, my wife, for her, with her own prayer partner, she takes Wednesday, and I am not going to bother her.
Okay.
She's praying.
Yeah.
So those things, when you discipline yourself and you make things routine, and people begin to understand who you are, it takes you to a point where suspicions are dispelled in many ways.
Could it be because the discipline that you develop helps people develop trust in you?
Exactly.
And so they can't suspect.
So, for example, when people know I'm on a day of prayer on Friday, they don't even invite me. Because they're not going to find me. They would have tried before, and I don't go there. And I explain to them at that time I'm praying. It's very important. It also eases a lot of unnecessary stress on your life.
Yeah. I'm thinking somebody watching us right now could be saying, but I think that gentleman, that's a special case. He was born like that. Matters of discipline. Would you really say that some people could be having a natural knack for a life of discipline that is quite hereditary and genetic, or this is 100% developed through choice and effort?
Why are some people learners who are quick? And others are also learners, but they are slow. It depends on, first of all, your receptivity. People pick information and people take it in and people implement it. I believe everything about character is developed with practical application of what it is. If I taught you and you have not learned anything, it doesn't mean you are stupid. It simply means you don't want to learn.
Or you are teaching me something too hard for
me. Or you are teaching me something I don't understand. Make it easier for me. And so when we learn certain things, the best thing to keep what we learn is to practice it. Jesus said, a man who hears his word and does it is like a builder on the rock. Now, the doing it is more important than the hearing.
Yes.
So when you hear, but you also implement, you are wise. So in teaching, when you hear a teacher teach and you implement what the teacher is saying, it becomes yours. In fact, according to the scriptural understanding, knowing is doing what you hear.
Knowing is doing what you hear. So in essence,
but if you hear and never do, mean you don't know anything.
So the proof of knowledge is actually
doing.
Wow. Looking at the men, let's now move to the men in civil service, the men we find in government. What would be your message to the men in government as far as discipline in service is concerned?
The men in service, let me ask you first of all, that your front desk person is either your killer or a promoter. So the guy or the woman you put in the front desk is the face of your office. They either protect you or they destroy you. I walk into an office, the initial thing I receive is how am I received in this office?
Yes.
It will tell me who you are in
The
charge.
first impression.
Oh yes. So the kind of person that you are going to keep as a front desk person is very important. Your secretary is very important. Secondly, if I walk in your office, please, you gave me time to come to your office. May I find you there? Sometimes you say come at 10 and you're not there.
Not 10, you're not there yourself.
Now I have come, I have left my work, and you're not there. I'm sitting here for 1 hour waiting for you. How much would I have done in that 1 hour?
I see that on
And then
public functions.
Three, if you make a promise to me, please keep it. Because if I come to you requesting you to come to my function on the 20th of April, and you said yes, please note it down to remind you, because you can't keep everything here.
Yes.
Note it down to remind you. And if you cannot keep 20th of April, please inform me in time.
In
say,
advance.
I can't come because something has come up. Please forgive me or let me go. Then I'll make alternative arrangement. Those are all part of discipline.
Indeed.
Now, when we do not do those things, service to the people clogs, jams, and it becomes hard for you as well. First of all, it kind of erodes who you are. And then secondly, the delivery of service begins to slacken, and then it also adds up to who you are.
Yeah.
And so I would want to know that civil service is service to the people. And if you can serve people, this is a promise I want to make to you. If you can serve people, you are going to be one person who will be a blessing. And once you are a blessing, you get blessings in return.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Wow. We are not only speaking to men who are watching us right now,
All right.
but their women are watching. Their wives
Oh,
are
yeah.
watching.
Oh, yeah.
This
Okay.
program is watched seriously.
It's a family thing.
Oh, the young people are right now watching.
All
In
right.
fact, I met one of them recently, a young man. I think he's in his late 20s, 27, 28, 29. And he
He was
said,
watching your
thank
program."
you for the program. You are preparing me to be a man
tomorrow.
in the future. Now, they have a challenge, some of them. Those young men and young women. Some of them are under the leadership of fathers that lack discipline.
Right.
So these young men, young women are trying to live a life that they believe is the right life, but the first person they should be emulating in their life at home, the
Yeah.
dad, the president of the home government,
Yeah.
is a very indisciplined
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Could you be having a word for that young man, young woman who is under the leadership of an indisciplined father?
Examine your heart. If your heart hates what your father is, then start fashioning your life to be totally opposite to what he is. In fact, it becomes also a visual aid for you. I don't want to be like my father in this particular area. I'll make mine like this. And that's one way you're going to cut that kind of life from your own descendants. Somebody needs to make a beginning of something positive to pass on.
Oh, yes.
Because as a man, tomorrow you're going to be a father. May your children then not learn what their grandfather was through you. Be different. Because I think inside you there may be a desire to live differently. Pursue that desire. And don't have to copy things when you know the results are not going to be positive. Especially if you have that wisdom. If you have that wisdom, use it.
And if you don't have it?
If you don't have it, then probably you're going to be like father, like son. Like son, like father. Which will be a disaster for your children as well. But you know, when things are not going to be positive or things are not going to be good, and you know how you lost, would you like your children to lose as well? That kind of thing could be a wake-up call, so that your children should not. I have noticed people who have never been to school, and they purpose to send their children to school because they never went to school.
Yes.
And some of their results are tremendous, because the children look back and say, my mother did not know how to read and write, but she pushed me to go to school. My dad did not know how to read and write, but my dad wanted me to go to school. I'm not going to waste my time.
Unfortunately, one of the things I'm observing nowadays is that the very same parents who were raised up so well and they speak so well about their fathers and their mothers are the ones raising their own children so poorly, and they don't mind.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Let me give you an example of the revival brought up children of our time today. They'll talk about how much they love the church, how much they were brought up in the church. They'll talk about how much their parents have brought them up. They taught them the Bible. But they say, but now, you know, for us, things are not as easy like their time and the rest of it. Let me say this to you. Your children are going to suffer from your careless attitude that you picked, not from your parents, but from your peers and from the people around you. You are passing it to your children. Now, would you like your children to be failures, if I may ask you that question? Because you are in the process of making them failures tomorrow. And then leave that alone with your children. What about your consequent descendants? So I want to appeal to you that whatever parents instilled in you, which can last for as many generations as possible, don't be the missing link in your family story.
Wow. Don't be the missing link. And they say that the chain is as strong as its weakest link. And now, if the weakest link is the dad,
then
the weakest link is the end of that
so
chain
please
is really weak.
Don't be that. Please, you do what you believe can be inherited by your children's children. The Bible says that a righteous man leaves inheritance to his children's children. Now, if that inheritance is righteousness, it will last for many generations.
So we need to have a generational way of thinking. As we come to the close of this program in the next about 3 minutes, when I look at you from a distance, I suspect you are busier in your retirement than when you were in service as an archbishop. What would be your message to a man who is about to retire concerning his life in retirement?
Let me give you the good news. There is life after retirement.
It's not death. It's not all gloom.
No,
like people want to paint
retirement
it.
is not a condemnation at all.
Yes.
Retirement means the end of a chapter, but it can open up again.
Yes.
But let me say what I've said to bishops many times, my own bishops. I said to them, I said like this: when you were picked up as a bishop candidate, they saw some gifts in you of leadership or otherwise. When you got into the office, you forgot about those gifts. You tried to be a bishop, you tried to make your office whatever you want it to be, and you forgot those gifts. Now, if you did forget those gifts, recapturing them after 10, 20, 15 years is going to be difficult for you.
Indeed.
So who you are, be what you are, even in your office, sharpening your gifts, those don't retire. Your gifts don't retire. And we are all gifted differently.
Yes.
And what you are is going to be needed by somebody somewhere. So me, I'm a preacher.
You can't retire from preaching.
How? Maybe if I lost my voice, maybe I will begin writing. They can read my lesson, they may read my sermon and things like that. And today, the preaching ability is so much in demand. I don't have an office now to control me, because when I was Archbishop, I had administration, I had pastoral issues, I had this and that. Now I'm single-minded. And what they need, I have. And out of that, I have my reward. And you'll find that in retirement, when you have your gifts, your rewards are meaningful to you.
Wow.
Because you still keep the people, you still keep the platform, you still keep the importance that go with what you have.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, then also now I have the freedom to say no, because my office doesn't dictate to me.
Yes.
So if I double, let me give you an example. From 5th to 9th, I was in Ebanda with the Bishop of Northwest Ankole, and I ministered to him. Then the following week, I was supposed to be in Masindi for the conference for young people, followed by the convention in Lango.
Mm.
At my age, I do not go at that speed now. So I said to the bishop in Masindi, my brother, I can't make yours because I need a whole week to rest before I go to Lango.
That's part of discipline.
Oh, yeah.
How you treat your body.
You feel the way you feel. Don't be pretending. You can't just be driving yourself until you are collapsed. No, it's not going to help you. You need to know the ability you have and explain it to people. But everybody looks at me and say, oh, but your grace, you look so young. I said, that may be in your eyes. I know the truth inside.
Yes, indeed. Amazing. What would you like this world to remember you for? If somebody came some 50 years from today and starts to make a research about a man that once lived, Bishop Henry Luke Orombi, what would you want them to write about you? What would you like to be remembered for?
I want to be a servant of God as I serve my people. I want to give myself to creating as much relationship as I can keep. I want to pursue people rather than pursuing money. I want to be one who will give hope to people, encouragement to people, and strength to people.
Yes.
If I can see people flourish, that's my joy. That is the kind of life I've lived for a long time. Even when I was retiring, I went to the president to explain to him I'm retiring 1 year early. He said, why? I said, I want to support leadership. There are many, many leaders who need support. And I want to raise younger people to take up leadership as well. And so for him, he had what I was going to do. And I'm doing those kind of things because I want to see people succeed the way I have succeeded.
Wow. So if I am to be among those young people that will succeed the way you have succeeded, what's the one advice you give me as we end this program?
You learn from me as much as possible.
Okay.
And I'll be transparent to you.
Yes.
Learn from me. Right now, you see this young man who is helping you sort out these things. He's a lawyer by training, but he wants to stick up with an old preacher. All he wants is to learn.
My namesake Samuel.
Ah.
Wow, 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 wow. Parting shot. Becoming a man of discipline. What's your parting shot?
All I will want to say is this. If you are a man, be a mentor. If you are a man, be a mentor. Allow a younger person under your arms from who actually you pass yourself in. And that is the Jesus principle. God bless you, man.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for creating the time to share with us about how we can become men of discipline. Because indeed, like Jim Rohn, one of America's foremost philosophers, said, discipline yourself so that the world doesn't need to do it for you.
Exactly.
If we don't discipline ourselves, the world will do it for us.
Very easily.
So thank you for creating time to ensure that we are not at the mercies of the vagaries of the weather.
Please, please.
But we are able to learn from experience, to learn from the things you have gone through, from your well of wisdom.
Thank you.
So that our lives can be more meaningful, more
Thank
impactful,
you.
and more significant for them.
And that's what I've been explaining.
Yes.
You are still after me, aren't you?
Pardon?
You are still after me in my retirement, isn't it?
Yes.
That's what I'm explaining.
Wow. This has been the Inspired Family Leader Program with Samuel A. Bakutana, with our guest, the Bishop Henry Luke Orombi, talking about becoming a man of discipline. We have listened to this conversation, and one of the things that has been spoken about here is that the only proof of knowledge is action. The only way how you can give evidence that you know is when you do. You've heard all these things. What are you going to do about it? As a husband, what are you going to change? concerning a life of discipline as somebody's husband. You are a father. What are you going to change? So that your children, if they are talking about you years down the road, many years down the road, somehow the expressions they will use will communicate that your life was a life of a disciplined father. Start small from wherever you are, with whatever you are, to do whatever you can. Maybe it means that next week you go to the parents' meeting that you've been dodging as a man. Start small. Maybe it means that the next wedding anniversary, your wedding anniversary, you now think about it in advance and do something about it. Maybe it simply means that you remember the birthday of your wife. Start small. Maybe it means that you start to go home a little bit earlier than you have been going home. Or probably it may mean that you start by not touching the money that doesn't belong to you in that public office. I don't know. Whatever that means for you, go and become a man of discipline.
Amen.
Until next time, live exemplarily, love authentically, and lead relationally.
Amen. Amen. God bless you.
Amen.
Thank you.